What if the price of forbidden love was death, but not your own? Irma's obsession with her cousin, Galang, drives her to commit the unthinkable, turning to black magic to destroy the woman who stands between them. But when the curse backfires, it unleashes a wave of horrifying death, not on Galang's family, but her own. And nowhere left to run, Irma must face the deadly truth. The ghost she summoned chooses its own target. The film opens with a scene showing a shaman performing black magic. Around him lie a human body and various cow parts which he is using in his ritual. At this moment, Irma arrives with her sister, Bulan. Irma is in love with her cousin and wishes to marry him. However, due to his family's refusal, she is being forced to marry someone else. But Irma is unwilling to give up. She is determined to have her love, no matter what it takes, even if it means turning to black magic. Bulan tries to stop her and pleads, Irma, let's leave this place. I don't feel right here. But Irma ignores her. She turns to the shaman and says that she wants to marry the boy at any cost. The shaman examines the photo and realizes the boy is her cousin. Upon hearing this, he refuses to perform the ritual, warning Irma that her life could be in danger. Suddenly, a ghost possesses Wulan. Her face turns terrifying and the entity inside her threatens Irma, warning her once again that going through this will bring danger. Frightened, Irma and Wulan flees the place. The scene fades and we jump forward 12 years. Now, we see Irma, Wulan and their mother on their way to visit Galang, the same cousin Irma once loved. Galang is now married to a woman named Nisa, and they have a 12-year-old daughter, Sophia, who is blind. The family has gathered to celebrate Sophia's birthday. Galang's mother, who is Irma's aunt, is also present. She has been unwell for a long time. We learn that not only was Irma in love with Galang, but he had also once been deeply in love with her. However, he married Nisa at his mother's request. Despite this, he continued to maintain a close relationship with Irma. Eventually, Galang realizes that continuing this relationship is unfair to his wife and daughter. He decides to distance himself from Irma, but she doesn't accept it, especially now that she is pregnant with his child. When Irma tells Galang about the pregnancy, he reacts harshly and tells her to leave. She tries repeatedly to contact him afterwards, but he ignores all her calls. Wulan, who knows everything, advises Irma, Galang will never be yours. Let him go. He has a family, and you are ruining it. Angered by her sister's word, Irma yells at Wulan and throws her out of her room. Her rage turns Galang intensifies. She recalls how he once promised to love her forever, but now acts as if none of it mattered. In a fit of anger, Irma goes to Galang's workplace. She confronts him, demanding he accept the child. Galang again responds rudely, pushing her away. When she threatens him with a knife, she falls and suffers a miscarriage. Galang rushes her to the hospital. When Irma regains consciousness, she blames him for everything. Galang tries to reason with her, saying, Irma, I'm married. We can't be together anymore. But Irma refuses to listen. She repeats, you promised you would never leave me. Eventually, Galang loses his temper. He throws money at her and walks away, making it clear he will never return. Irma, devastated, she screams in anguish and vows to destroy him. The scene cuts to Galang returning home after work. Outside the mosque, the local imam stops him and says, no one from your family comes to mosque anymore. You should return to worship. Faith can protect you from evil. He gives Galang a gift for Sophia. Back home, Galang, exhausted, falls asleep. In a terrifying dream, Sophia wakes him and reveals she has gouged out her own eyes. Dad, she says, this time, if you give me a gift, please give me my eyes. Galang jolts awake in horror, realizing it was just a nightmare. He rushes to check on Sophia. Seeing her, he is flooded with memories of the past. When Sophia was about to be born, Galang didn't take proper care of his wife. He failed to take her to the doctor, and due to lack of proper medical checkup, Sophia was born without eyes. The day after being discharged from the hospital, Irma once again tried to contact Galang, at which he ignored her calls, but eventually he picked up only to harshly scold her. Deeply hurt and angered by his behavior, Irma shifted her focus. Instead of seeking revenge, she made up a decision to get Galang at any cost. In desperation, Irma returned to the shaman. This time, she was determined to use black magic to claim Galang for herself. When she met with the shaman, she said, I want Galang, no matter what. I don't want any other woman in his life. Up until this point, Irma hadn't held any resentment towards Nisa or even Sophia. In fact, she had loved Galang's daughter dearly, but Galang's cruel treatment pushed her to a breaking point. She offered the shaman all of her and her sister's gold jewelry, telling him, "Take whatever amount you want, but I want Galang to be mine." Though the shaman initially refused, warning her once again about the danger involved, his mother persuaded him to take the job. The shaman explained that they would use a powerful class of spirit known as Anazain ghost, non-believing entities that hate Muslims. These ghosts would be summoned to carry out the black magic. The ritual would specifically target Nisa, Galang's wife. The aim was to sever all of Nisa's relationships and eventually end her life. For the spell, the shaman required personal items, a photograph, a strand of Nisa's hair, and her blood. Additionally, he needed a freshly dead human leg bone, which would be wrapped in a cow's intestine as a part of the ritual. Following his instructions, Emma went to Galang's house. She met Nisa, and under the pretext of using bathroom, she collected hairs from her brush and a used sanitary pad. As she was leaving, Galang saw her and snapped, "What are you doing here? How many times I have to tell you to stay away from my family?" Though hurt, Emma held firm, taking the items to the shaman. That night, the shaman began the ritual. He told Irma, "It's good you brought blood. This will make the spell stronger." He cut into the pad and let the blood drip onto the bone. He then began chanting dark incantations. Suddenly, the ground shook. The spirit had arrived. The shaman commanded the ghost in its own language to go and destroy Nisa. The ghost obeyed, and the shaman warned Emma, "The next 5 nights will be devastating for Nisa. All her blood ties will perish, and your wish will come true." On the first night, Nisa was praying when she suddenly saw cow parts appear before her. Terrified, she felt as if a bucket of blood had been poured over her. She screamed in horror. When Galang rushed in, her clothes were spotless, no blood anywhere. He simply assumed she was exhausted and told her to rest. On the second night, the dark magic intensified. Nisa found herself compulsively cutting the hair from her daughter's doll and eating it. She began vomiting uncontrollably. When she regained consciousness, she was confused and deeply disturbed by her actions. She tried to confide in Galang, but he brushed her off. Meanwhile, Irma's sister, Wulan, confronted her, saying, "I know you gave the jewelry to Chaman. You're doing something terrible." But Irma, irritated, shouted at her and sent her away. That night, Irma had a terrifying vision of Wulan's dead body. She screamed in fear only to discover it was a hallucination. Wulan was still alive. Irma had set a curse on Nisa, but it was starting to affect her as well. On the third night, Nisa was once again praying when she vomited, this time expelling large insects. Horrified, she collected the bugs in a jar, intending to show someone proof of her ordeal. Irma, meanwhile, went to care for Galang's mother. Suddenly, something seemed to possess her. She was about to harm the elderly woman. When she snapped out of it, trembling, she apologized, saying, "I don't know what's going to me. I didn't mean to harm you." Realizing the situation was getting worse, Nisa went to the bathroom to retrieve the jar, but the insects were gone. At the same time, Galang's mother, who could barely walk, entered the kitchen and poured a pot of scalding hot food over herself. Nisa, just emerging from the bathroom, was horrified to find the woman with severe burns. Galang's mother died shortly after. On the fourth night, during her funeral, Nisa suddenly became possessed again. In front of everyone, she picked up the corpse and threw it. The mourners were terrified. Only Emma watched with satisfaction, knowing her curse was working. Among the guests was the local imam. Witnessing Nisa's unnatural behavior, he realized she was under demonic influence. He recited sacred verses over her, calming the entity and bringing Nisa back to her senses. He now understands that someone has deliberately summoned the ghost to possess her. After his mother's funeral, Galang begins experiencing disturbing dreams. In one dream, he sees himself dead, surrounded by countless unknown women. Frightened, he rushes to Imam for help. Galang explains everything to Imam, who responds calmly. "I already sensed that Nisa was under the influence of a powerful spirit. His name is Anazain, a ghost known to despise Muslims. That's why many people invoke him through black magic." The Imam assured Galang, "Nisa can be cured. No matter how powerful the spirit is, Allah is the greatest. With his help, we will defeat it." He gives Galang holy water and instructs him to bring Nisa to back hall of the mosque for an exorcism. When Galang returns home, he finds Nisa screaming in terror, haunted by the spirits of Galang's deceased mother. He manages to calm her and pours holy water on her head, which causes her intense pain. Watching her suffer, Galang feels helpless and guilty. With love and care, he puts Nisa to sleep and plays a Quran recitation on the radio before leaving the room. But as soon as he leaves, the radio stops and ghost fully possesses Nisa. Her eyes become strange, her lips and teeth turn black, and she takes on a horrifying appearance. The scene cuts to Irma's mother, Galang's aunt, who is now plagued by nightmares. One day, in a panic, she breaks dishes in the kitchen and starts eating the shards of glass like a possessed person. She dies in a gruesome manner. Irma, devastated by her mother's death, begins to realize the truth. The magic she performed is turning against her. She confessed everything to her sister, Wuland. Yes, I asked the shaman to cast a spell. He told me only Nisa's bloodline would be affected, but it's my family that's dying first. Mom, now, and our aunt. Wuland, you are the only one left. Wulan, terrified, begins distancing herself from Irma, but Irma pleads with her, please trust me, I will fix everything. Meanwhile, Galang prepares to take Nisa to mosque for the exorcism. The Imam reassures him, don't worry, Allah will help us defeat this evil. On the day, Galang runs into Irma, who finally confesses the whole truth. All of this horror began because she used black magic to try to win him back. Enraged and heartbroken, Galang struggled to process the magnitude of what she has done. It's now the fifth and the final night of the spell, and it promises to be the deadliest. Irma rushes to Shaman to stop everything, but before she reaches him, her sister, Wulan, now possessed, attacks her. Irma escapes, but Wulan follows and says something chilling. Tonight, I will die too. Wulan climbs a tree, and her hairs becomes entangled in the branch. Suddenly, she jumps. The force rips her scalp from her head, and she dies in a horrifying fashion. Irma, now completely unhinged, races to find Shaman and end the curse. Back at the mosque, the Imam begins the exorcism on Nisa, but as the Quran recitation grows louder, Ima's body starts reacting violently. She is now under full attack from the negative forces she once summoned. At the shaman's place, Irma discovers he is nowhere to be found. The dark spirits descend upon her, taking complete control. Her bones begins to snap, her body contors unnaturally. One by one, her limbs and spine break, and she dies a slow, brutal death. At the mosque, chaos erupts, the spirit begins attacking everyone. Nisa, completely possessed, grabs Galang and prepares to kill him. The Imam manages to knock her unconscious temporarily, but something still feels off. That's when the Imam notices something horrifying. The spirit isn't inside Nisa, it's in Sophia. The truth finally emerges when Irma went to retrieve item from the spell. The hair and the blood she collected didn't belong to Nisa, they were Sophia's. The curse was cast on the wrong person. All this time, it wasn't Nisa's bloodline being targeted, it was Sophia's. That explains why members of Irma's family, who were related to Sophia through Galang, were the ones dying. Now possessed, Sophia begins to attack her own father. Galang begs for forgiveness, but Sophia, consumed by darkness, kills him mercilessly. In a last desperate effort, the Imam begins an exorcism on Sophia. This time, the ritual succeeds. The ghost leaves her body, but by then, it's too late. Too many lives have been lost. In the final scene, Nisa is shown alive in a hospital, in a broken, fragile state. Sophia visits her, and her face is still eerily distorted. The lingering darkness in her expressions reveals the horrifying truth. The ghost is still inside her. She approaches Nisa, her last living blood relative, and with that chilling moment, the movie ends.